I'm Mykala Green of Miss Biddeford, USA, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Pageant Project. My guest for tonight's proceedings is Mykala Green. She is a 24-year-old paralegal working in family law with an interest in serving at-risk children. She aspires to one day become a family attorney. She graduated from Providence College in 2023 with a degree in psychology and received her master's in child policy from Boston University. After losing her best friend, Nikki, in 2025, Mykala started an internship program for high school and college students in New England to help them learn more about careers centered around child advocacy and engage in meaningful mentorship opportunities. After navigating her own experience with loss, Mykala began volunteering to help facilitate support groups for grieving children. In 2023, she co-founded a chapter of It's on Us at Providence College to assist students impacted by interpersonal violence. Mykala has competed in pageants since she was 14 years old, 10-year anniversary, Mykala, and has been a long-time competitor with the Miss USA organization. She is a former captain of her collegiate figure skating team, models with Monster Energy, and enjoys playing golf and trying new coffee combinations. Mykala, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. You model with Monster Energy, so I'm going to assume that you're good to go.
I am. I am. I'm a few coffees in and a few energy drinks in at this point.
Do you have any preference, like when it comes to the two? I know you model with them, so we don't get you into trouble. But I found like if I have coffee, like coffee, I love coffee, and we'll get into
Yes.
that. Energy drinks, when I have them, it like pushes me into hyperdrive, and I start getting the
Yep.
shakes. Do you have any preference, or you just mix freely?
This is a terrible vice, but I mix freely. And on a given day, I'll probably have maybe two coffees and an energy drink. So I'm starting to think caffeine just doesn't work anymore, which is not
Mhm.
great. But I love coffee, so I feel like that might be the biased answer.
Did you know that we were talking about psychology. We were nerding about psychology for about 15 minutes before we went live. Did you know that people with ADHD, very often caffeine has the opposite reaction to normal people? Like when you have caffeine, it actually slows you down
Yeah.
versus normal people, it speeds you up. I always thought that was weird. I could have a coffee and go straight to sleep, but
Yep.
apparently that's quite normal for people with ADHD.
Yeah, and the best part is too, so I work out late at night. I'm a 10 p.m. workout person, so I have the energy drink before I go. And anytime someone FaceTimes me when I'm at the gym and they see sometimes it's a Monster in hand and I'm about to start the workout, they're like, "Are you okay? Are you going to be able to sleep
Are you
tonight?"
okay?
I'm like, "I promise I will." But yeah, I have the same problem.
When you said coffee combinations, what are you combining coffee with? Not an energy drink, I hope.
Not an energy drink. So I'm a very big fan of cold foam. And I think that that was probably one of the most exciting inventions that I've seen Starbucks come out with. And there are a few places in general that absolutely kill it with banana cold foam in particular or marshmallow cold foam. And I'm so obsessed. And I will try any kind of flavor combination with that. But it's unbelievable. And I'm really picky where I just don't even like coffee anymore without the fun stuff on top.
I'm sorry, I don't know what's cold foam.
Do they not have it in Australia?
They may, but I don't go to Starbucks. I just have black
Okay.
coffee.
That's so boring. Okay, so
I need
cold
it
foam.
straight and strong. I don't have time to wade through the milk to get to my coffee. So that's why I have it black. But go ahead.
Okay, so this might be now my homework assignment for you, but it ends up being there's heavy whipping cream and a little bit of milk, and you have to take, I don't know the name of it, but it's like a frother type situation, and you
Mhm.
spin it all together and it gets to be like a little bit more of a thick consistency, and then you add a flavor. So sometimes if you're at a really good place, you'll get actual blueberry puree or caramelized banana. So by the time you have it, it feels like you're having a dessert. And that's my little sweet treat of the day, but you have to go and get it. I think it'll change your whole take on coffee.
But it doesn't sound like coffee anymore, Michaela. It sounds like you're having dessert.
Yeah, but that makes it more fun, and it makes it more acceptable when it's 9 in the morning and you're having dessert.
Oh, okay. That's a separate issue. So, guys watching, if you have any questions for us, whether it's about Michaela's coffee fixation or anything else, let us know in the comments. I'm keeping an eye on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We can bring your comments on. Michaela, so as I said, 10 years in pageantry. What has that been like?
It's been a journey, and I am so grateful for literally every moment of it. I remember when I was 14, I got a letter in the mail, like many pageant girls do, from National American Miss, and I was so shy at the time because I was a figure skater and it's such an individualized sport. And when my mom saw that there was an interview opportunity, she was like, "Let's
Mm,
try this," because I'm sure you've heard a lot about NAM at this point, but you get to have roundtable interviews. So for people who are a little bit more on the shy side, it kind of really pushes you forward. So I signed up, I did it. I had so much fun and I competed in NAM, I think two more times. I competed in a state pageant for Miss High School America and won, which was awesome. I was a complete duck out of water when I went to Miss High School America because that pageant is the real deal when you go to nationals and the people are prepped and they're ready to go. And I think I showed up with a suit on from Talbot's, which is like a little like women's suiting store in the malls out here. And that just was not the right situation in the slightest. And then I kind of started the teen pageant journey and I loved, kind of taking the first steps into the Miss Teen USA organization. And then I became a miss. I started it, I think, for the first time when I was 19, and I've been
yeah.
competing ever since.
Need to get in contact with NAM and see what they're doing because a number of people recently who seem to have gotten started in pageantry because they got something in the mail from NAM. They have a very good outreach program. I'm not exactly sure what they're doing, but it's working.
Well, it's like Harry Potter. You get the letter from Hogwarts to invite you to the academy. I feel like they saw that approach and started running with it.
I mean, unless you had to go to a train platform and then run through a wall that happens to also be a door. I mean, did you have to? That'd be kind of cool. I do wonder if I could prank someone with that.
Maybe for people who are unfamiliar, I might just start telling people that's how I got started. There was a train platform I ran through, and it was the most magical thing ever.
What is it? Platform 9 3/4?
Yeah, that was really good. Yes, 9 3/4.
I'm so worried about saying that because I know there's some, Harry Potter fan out there going to absolutely crucify me. So I vaguely remember it. What? So that's how you got into pageantry. What kept you in it, though?
For me, it really kind of taught me to embrace redirection. And I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but I'm a really anxious person. And I think that when I was younger, I really struggled to kind of accept when things started to fall out of place, when things didn't go my way, and sort of having to redevelop a plan, re strategize, and figure out what I was going to do next. And I loved the fact that every single time I lost, I almost felt like I gained something, as crazy
Mm.
as that might be, whether it was a new skill, whether it was kind of coming to accept, you can do things your own way. You can choose what advice works for you, what doesn't work for you. And every time I felt like I came back more disciplined and a stronger version of myself. And I think that's what kept me in it because unlike any other sport where you're fighting for a spot on a team and maybe you can be one of 17 people who are competing for that sport, there's only two people, a teen and a miss, who walk away at the end of the day. But when you really take a step back and you realize that you can gain so much from the times that you're not the one that's winning that title, you realize how valuable that process really is.
What was it like competing in pageants as someone who deals with anxiety?
It was hard at first. And I think, when I started, there was less of a presence online, I would say, with sort of the draw from the pageant community. And I feel like during COVID, that's really
Yeah.
where things started to take off with Instagram pages and different commentators and platforms for this community. So, as someone who was also really young when I started, because the first time I was 19, I didn't really know how to sort of understand that at the end of the day, the only voice that needs to matter is sort of my own when it comes to an introspection process. And it was
Mm.
so hard to kind of see criticism online or feedback or what this random person thought about me and, whatever state from their whatever username account. And it was so hard at first because it made me feel really self-conscious. But as I got older and I think I got a better grasp on my anxiety and how to cope with that, I learned to sort of let it fuel me. And I mean, I always make a joke about this, but one thing I really struggled with for a while was my walk. And I would see these comments being like, oh gosh, her walk's a little funky. We need to fix this, get better at it. It started to become something where I was like, you know what? Let me take this in and just work harder. So when I started to see those things and it let me push myself, I think that anxiety started to kind of quiet a little bit, which was great.
You struggled with your walk as a figure
Yeah.
skater?
Oh, yeah. And so a little inside info on that because it's surprising to everyone, but the reason that I started figure skating is because I have a condition called femoral introversion. So, what that means is that my hips pronate inwards. And when I was little, I would trip a lot. And my parents took me to the doctor and they were like, what's going on? She's falling all the time. And the way that my hips are personally structured just are a little bit different than other people. It's unique to women in particular.
Right.
So I started figure skating as a rehabilitation for that because it was either do PT or get surgery. So not only was that kind of, it was great to be able to get on the ice, but it was something I medically needed to do. But
Yeah.
when I put on those 6-inch heels, it's really hard because I have to pronate outwards. I have to focus on not tripping, not falling. And I'll be the first to admit it, I was a little bit of a knee walker for a while. So it was kind of combating all of those things. But yeah, now I feel like it's a little bit better, but it was tough for a while.
What was it called? Femoral introversion?
Antiversion, so it's like ANT,
Antiversion.
yep, but
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a very uncommon disorder to have.
I've never heard of that. I have the opposite where my knees actually turn in, but I have duck feet. So my feet are chronically turned out too much, which has its
Yep,
own problems. So you have they're turned in a bit. Is that
turn
so?
inward. Yes, exactly. So pronating inward. So I would have been jealous of your duck feet because that's what the goal
No,
was for me for a
no,
while.
no. Every time I leave footprints in the sand behind me, I get really annoyed that I'm still walking dog foot because everyone else has these nice footprints like this,
Yep,
and mine are like this. And I'm still walking like that. Anyway, that's my own thing. Um, you are competing as Miss Biddeford.
yes.
Then you're going to be competing, hopefully, for a spot in Miss USA. So how's all the prep going at this point? Because I'm flying over to America in just over 2 months. We don't have much time. How's all the prep going?
Yeah. It's been great. This time I've had a lot of fun, and I think that that's the first time I can really say that where it hasn't felt like work, it hasn't felt like an extra thing to do. It's been really the most joyful process, which I've been really appreciative of. For me, again, I think as you do this and being someone who has competed for 10 years, it's sometimes really hard to not have that self-doubt or feel like how am I going to measure up against this woman and what if I'm not
Yeah.
enough this time. And the one thing I've done this year that's really strange is I started golfing because I realized that for mental prep, if I could do something that I'm really not that great at in front of complete strangers, typically annoy them when it takes like 5 times for me to be able to make contact with the ball and they're waiting for me to, go on my merry way. If I could do that, then I could get on stage and then I could get into a room with the judges and feel like myself. And it's been wonderful. I've seen such a difference in just the nerves surrounding everything. So it's been fun. It's been really fun.
It was so funny because just before I interviewed with you, and I saw that Paige had jumped on before on the live, if Paige is still watching, we were talking about golf. And I'm a tennis player, and I can hit a golf ball, but I hate golf only because I find it so frustrating. And I
Yep.
said, I don't need more reasons to swear as an Australian. The last thing I need is more reasons to curse. On that note, though, I did see in your Instagram that you were on a pickleball court. And
Yes.
as a tennis player, I didn't say this, okay, but there's a very famous former American tennis player who said pickleball is where tennis players go to die. So do you, again, I didn't say that, he said that, but I'm not going to say I completely disagree with him. But do you do pickleball as well, apart from the golf?
So pickleball, I've played only a handful of times. I prefer
Okay.
tennis. And I tend to
Okay.
be a little bit better at tennis because I think my chances of actually making contact with the ball go up a little bit with the bigger racket. But I went for Valentine's Day with some of my girlfriends, and honestly, I was in it for the chicken tenders that I knew they would be serving at the restaurant that was attached to the court after. But it was fun.
This is, and Paige sent a laughing emoji. This is what I said. Paige said, "Oh, if you take golf, it's a really great networking opportunity, and it's
Yeah.
like a social event." You're telling me pickleball? I went for the chicken tenders. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm going to pick the sport because I like the sport, not because what I get fed afterwards. I will say, a lot of people who play golf, it's not the eating, it's what they imbibe afterwards. But
Right.
so I was getting distracted. So golfing and pickleball. So these are your ways of relaxing.
Yeah, well, and golf does have the opposite effect, kind of as you said. It's really, really frustrating, but I think for me, it's fun to kind of see that improvement because for golf, the more you
Okay.
go, the better you get. And the sad part, living in New England, your window to golf and actually, if you have a membership, make use of that or actually use the really beautiful courses that we have, you kind
Yeah.
of can only go, I would say, if we're really lucky, depending on the winter situation, maybe end of April up until mid-September. So you can't, unless you're traveling with your
Oh,
golf
yeah.
clubs, and if you
Yeah.
do, more power to you. That seems terrible through TSA. You don't really get to practice a lot. So I have a couple months to get better. And by the end of the summer, my goal is to feel a little bit better about my performance all around.
I think golf is one of those things that I think I actually get better the less I practice. Because with golf, I just find it so frustrating hitting this little ball. And I
Yeah.
don't know if you've ever been to the driving range. One time I shanked it into we have a galvanized iron roof and it went straight
Oh,
up. And so it makes a bang, but then it came down and went on the concrete floor, made a bang, and then it bounced back on. So you just hear the bang, bang, bang. And everyone had hit the deck because they thought, oh, it's gunshots going off. It was horrifically embarrassing.
yep.
Um, but so you're using golf as a preparation for pageantry. That's a
Yeah.
first. You're finding it helps you relax, helps you focus.
It's just helping me sort of get into the mindset of if you're practicing something and you put in the work, whatever else is going on around you, whether it's the golf league people that I tend to annoy, or it's judges, or it's competitors, or it's people that are watching you and you're getting this feedback, you just have to focus. And
Yeah.
that's been, I think, the biggest thing for me over the years is I get so in my head sometimes, and the headshots drop, and suddenly I'm looking at what everyone else
Mm,
is doing, and I get lost in that self comparison, and all this prep and time that I put in. It sometimes feels like it gets lost along the way as those nerves kick in. So this has just been my way of trying to really reset, refocus, and approach the mental prep a little bit differently than, meeting with a coach, meeting with an
yeah.
external person to work with that.
Can you tell me about your journey, your experience using social media? Someone who's been in pageantry for 10 years.
Mhm.
And I guess 10 years ago, we had the beginnings of social media, but it's nowhere near the monster that it is today. And then you having anxiety, I have to imagine learning to navigate social media was quite a journey.
Yeah, it was definitely challenging at first. And I think also one thing that's really been important to me is finding my voice on social media
Mm,
and what I want my image to be online. And I think it's been so crucial to really be authentic to who I am. And I do try to really ensure that what you see on Instagram is what you would also get in real life. So if it's a reel, it's something that you would actually find me doing if you were a fly on the wall, and making it less curated and focused on the aesthetic of everything and trying to actually just incorporate Mykala. And that's taken a while to get there because it's hard. You have people who work in marketing that compete. You have people that are just so naturally good at being able to put together these beautiful grids and take the most aesthetic photos. So it's been definitely a navigation process, but I think I feel less anxious when I know I'm being true to myself and I know that
mm.
what you're seeing is also what you would get in real life. And it's been less of a performance, but more so a testament to who I am and what I really believe in.
One of the reasons, Mikhail, I wanted to jump on an interview with you was because of your story. I mean, you mentioned finding your voice. Your story certainly is not all sunshine and rainbows. As I mentioned in the bio, you lost your best friend, I understand, like
Yeah.
Nikki, in
Yep.
2025, which is still very recent. I'm someone who lost his sister very unexpectedly when she was probably about your age now. And when you lose someone suddenly, you don't get a chance to say goodbye.
No.
And everyone processes grief differently. But tell me more about that experience, what you've learned from it, maybe even how you struggled from it, and then how are you honoring her memory moving forward?
Yeah, well, first I want to say I'm sorry for your loss and, having gone through it, I understand that it's really hard to navigate that. So I'm sorry for what you've experienced as well. Um, it's not easy. It's something that I'm still really impacted by today. Nikki
Mhm.
was my most favorite person ever. And she had this beautiful bright red hair and it was so curly and she just looked like something out of a storybook. She was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I love that you asked me about her because I think sometimes we really tiptoe around loss and we don't know if it's appropriate to ask and to inquire and to speak about someone as if they're still alive and to give a person who's grieving the opportunity to actually reflect. So I really, appreciate it. But I knew Nikki since I was in the eighth grade, and she's somebody that became very central to my life. At an early age, she really started to kind of develop a few challenges surrounding substance abuse.
Right.
And when you're a kid, it's really hard to kind of grasp how serious that really is. Because now at, 24 years old, especially in the field that I work in, I would be like, oh my goodness, this is a massive problem and we need to do X, Y, and Z to combat it. But when you're 12, 13 years old, it feels a lot less severe than it really
Mm.
is. And as the years went on, this addiction problem kind of grew worse. And in the background, Nikki's parents had navigated a really challenging divorce, and she just wasn't really getting the supervision that she needed at home. That in my heart, I believe if it was caught earlier, it could have been combated.
Yeah.
So her and I were able to have a really great relationship over the years. I ended up moving away from where she lived. I spent a few years in Georgia when I was in middle school, and I ended up moving back out to the Northeast. And we still had, I would say, the perfect long distance relationship. She would come for my birthdays, I would fly to see her. It was wonderful. But the reality was is that on the inside of that relationship, there were times where she would be in rehab. She would be sent to
Right.
different prevention organizations that were really improper and didn't necessarily foster well-being for kids. I know that there was something called Trails that Paris Hilton went to. Nikki went to a program like that at one point, and that's not very sustainable. And it was hard because was so lost as to what I could do and how I could
Yeah.
help, especially being so
Yeah.
young. And last February, I got the nightmare text that I think I knew that I would receive at one point or another because of how challenging things got with her substance abuse situation. And her dad had reached out and was like, "You were her longest friend, and I needed to tell you this." And I got the text at 7:30 in the morning before I was supposed to go to work. So it was debilitating. I think that was confidently the worst day that I've ever had to date,
Mm.
and I know I have many years to go. Um, but it was awful, and I just remember having such intense feelings surrounding it. I went to work that day because I was in such
Mm.
shock that I didn't know how
Yeah.
to stay home and be stagnant.
Yeah.
And I think since that day, there has not been a single time where I haven't thought of her in some capacity, and she hasn't been a fleeting thought in my mind on a day. So, one of the greatest honors that I've had, I think, to date was being asked to deliver her eulogy. And that was something that really meant a lot to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it was hard. And you did a good job with the eulogy when you make the really serious guy in the corner in the suit who's sitting like this
Right.
cry. So I
Yeah.
knew that I knew I had done well, but I knew that one thing that really bothered me was that sort of the anecdotes that were left behind for her online and in the obituary, they were so short. And her relationship with me was something that I look back on so fondly, and it's something that really changed my life in so many ways that I didn't want her to just be a blimp. So
Yeah.
for me, that's been really centric, and I think that's what kind of propelled this whole idea for an internship program for kids who want to work in family law, because Nikki needed someone like that, and I now know, working in that field, that there are people who could have helped and who could have intervened, and it would have made a world of difference. So, in a long tangent, it's something that I'm not over. I try as hard as I can to kind of tackle the day without it being something that really consumes me, but
Mm.
it's been hard.
People talk about processing grief, and I think it's cliche when they say everyone processes it differently. I'm going to be completely honest and say I don't know what that means, because to me, I went back to work the next day
Yep.
because I didn't know what else to do. Like, what am I going to do? Sit at home and think about it? Well, that won't go well.
Right.
And then, like, feel your feelings. Well, I'm feeling that already. Thank you very much. What does processing grief to you mean? What does that look like? I mean, and for you, it was only last year, so it's not like it was that long ago.
Hmm.
What is a journey toward? I don't know, recovery is the right word, but maybe acceptance, right? But what has that journey been like for yourself?
Oh gosh, I don't know why that question makes me want to cry, but I think it's surrounding yourself with people that let you keep that person's memory alive.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I sometimes, and in total transparency, I sometimes feel so annoying when I talk about her because I just feel like I'm trying to incorporate her into my day to day life. And
Mm.
even the other day, I did a walk, which was for addiction awareness, and she would have thought it was the craziest, silliest thing I could have. She would have hated it. It would have. She would have been
Yeah.
like, "Why are you doing this?" But I remember as I was doing it, I have every voicemail she's ever left me on her phone, and I just
Yeah.
played it as I was walking, and I was like, "Oh, this is really nice to kind of hear your voice." But I'm so lucky where my friends, my coworkers, my family members, even my coaches, they let me talk about her and they
Mm.
let me express how I'm feeling. And I remember last year on my birthday, midnight hit and I lost it. I just was so sad because she had always wished me a happy birthday. She was always there, and holidays will come and I just end up feeling the loss a little bit more. And every single person that was there with me, they went out of their way to just make me feel better and make me feel like it was okay to express myself. So
Yeah.
I don't know, when we say processing, I think it kind of means this finality of acceptance. And I don't think when you lose someone that you have to accept that it's done, it's over. You just have to
Yeah.
find ways to honor
Yeah.
them and find spaces that let you do so.
I think the phrase holding space comes to mind because I know from working in a lot of, let's say, dark fields, for want of a better word, a lot of people on the outside who haven't experienced these sorts of things directly, they get anxious that they don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Right? They say, "Oh, what should I say? What's the answer?" Like, and it's almost like they're asking, "What can I say to make everything better?" And I just always thought that's always struck me as there's nothing you can't say anything, but what the one thing that you can do is hold space for that person and really listen to them,
Right.
allow them to express what they're feeling, and don't listen to judge, don't listen to respond, but actually just listen and don't make them feel as though they're annoying. And it
Right.
sounds like you're fortunate enough to have some of those people in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's and I recognize too that not everyone has that luxury and it can feel so isolating, and I think that that's where you find people really really
Mm.
struggling to come to terms with what happened. And I think that's why for me it was also really important to kind of give that back to people finding themselves in my
Yeah.
position. So it has been really healing working with a virtual grief group for kids, because kids sometimes are judgy and they haven't gotten to the
Mm.
point that we as adults are at, where we recognize that need, as you're saying, to hold space and to let people process things. Kids are like, well, why are you crying in the middle of class? And they don't know, it's not mean intention, but they're so honest to a point, and that can feel really hard for a little kid who maybe lost a parent, a friend, a grandparent, whatever it may be. And so to give them that ability to just rant for an hour and just talk about that person and maybe a really great conversation you had and what you learned from them and not even just the loss, that's been really special. And, I mean, I've said it and we've talked about it already, but I'm so lucky that my people let me do that. And even, especially my friends in the pageant community too, that
Mm.
really showed up for me as that was going on. That meant the world to me. And this is my public way of saying thank you so much, but I can't thank them enough for that.
I think sometimes working with kids or teenagers is easier because I think they're very, very honest to a fault.
They
And
are.
I think once even if you're crying for whatever it might seem like the thousandth time for that day, when you explain it, they seem to get it intuitively. I think I have more of a problem with sometimes with adults who would just say, "Oh, that happened 3 months ago. That happened 6 months ago. Like, can you just
Yeah.
get over it?" I find that a lot harder to deal with.
Yeah. I agree, and I feel like at least in our culture nowadays, we have what we deem to be acceptable timelines where it's like,
Yeah,
okay, you're allowed to search for a job for 3 months before it's
yeah,
strange that you haven't found something. And I think we try to apply that same standard to grief or somebody has a breakup or a divorce or whatever it may be. Well, you can
yeah,
feel this
yeah.
for so long. And if it's past that point, we need to get over it. And I think that that's really crazy and really unacceptable. But I understand how I think not having that personal experience can make you develop those thoughts because before I went through my own situation, yeah, I lost a grandparent before, but that wasn't necessarily the same thing for me because I was so young at the time. I was in the fourth grade. And I
Yeah.
had a friend who lost someone in their life, and I felt like, "Oh my god, what do I say? How do I make this
Yeah.
better?" And so it's easy to fall into that trap, and I think it's human nature that we wanna help, but sometimes we just don't know how, and that's okay too. It's just being empathetic throughout that process. That's important.
Explain to people what you do in your daily work. So I read it out.
Yes.
Refresh people what it is you do, but what is it that you actually do on a daily basis?
Well, that this is fair. So, I am a paralegal in family law and I help with divorce matters, child custody matters, and I have yet to see an adoption. And I feel like that's where people get the butterflies and the lightheartedness surrounding family law. I've yet to see one, but I hope to one day. But my role is to support a managing partner. I've actually known my boss since I was 3 years old, which is really crazy. And yes, so she's been around for a while in my life.
You've known her since you were 3. You haven't been working for her since you were 3 though.
Well, she was my Girl Scout troop leader, so maybe if we
Oh,
want to really dial it back and be like, well, you kind of were working for her when you were selling the cookies, we could say I've been working for her since I was 3 years old. But so I was working for her since I was, I think, 22, I want to say. And then I interned for her in college. But I am also her assistant, so we can get a little Devil Wears Prada action with some of the requests that I'll get throughout the day. But she's very lovely and I really appreciate her. But I help with what I love to call the realm of discovery. So, all of the financial pieces. If we really think that it's worthwhile to explore someone's bank statements, I'm the one who will go and help subpoena those entities. And I help do pleading or write pleadings and submit motions. And I get to kind of do the behind the scenes that gets someone ready to be in court. And I'm also the first person that you get to talk to when you call the office. And I think that that's a really big deal because when someone is seeking you out for your services in family law, that means that they're going through a challenging time. They are not calling to say, "Hey, I won the lottery. What do I do with
yeah.
that money?" They're calling because they need help. So it's a lot of client communication. It's a lot of explaining what the systems are and how they work without giving legal advice, of course, but
Course,
really
yeah.
just being a human to somebody in that process. So I love my job. I think it's really wonderful.
How did you get interested in that field to begin with?
My experiences with Nikki and
Right.
kind of being on the back end of that, I know that at an early age, we were sort of involved in the family court process that her parents were navigating. And I learned of this concept called a guardian ad litem, and it varies on a
Mm,
state to state basis. But what they do here is they'll, make recommendations to the court about what's in the best interest for a child. And
yeah.
I thought that that would be a perfect way to sort of combine my love of psychology with my love of the law and still be able to be in court, but also really understand, how a parent is acting in the home, what a child needs, what's developmentally appropriate, how can we really support them. I thought that was kind of the perfect chemistry concoction for a career for me.
We joked previously that I think all lawyers hate math or are bad at math. But how's your Latin?
So I took Latin in middle school.
Oh,
I
I
did.
did too. No, I've never met anyone else who I had to take. I was forced. All right.
Same.
Okay.
So,
So
and I
you
don't
took
think anyone
Latin.
signs up for fun. Yeah, I don't think
No.
anyone signs up for fun. I do have to encounter Latin. So this is something like we're talking about, physics not being useful for us on a day to day. Latin is useful for me on a day to day. So that's been great.
Wow. I don't think I've ever met anyone else who actually. For those of you watching at home, so Latin is what the ancient Romans, as in 2,000 years ago, used to speak. And it is
Yes.
a dead language, as in no one speaks it. And
Yep.
I remember thinking, why do I have to? I had to take 4 years of this thing, Mykala.
Oh yeah, I took three, so I'm close. You're probably better at it than I am.
Painful. No, I. This is the other thing. I hate it because I'm rubbish at it. After 4 years, I still can't speak Latin. What was the very? Do you remember the very first thing that you had to learn in Latin?
Me nomen es. Like my name is. I'm pretty. I hope that that's how I say it. So I remember that, and then I remember. I think it was like pater and mater, and just learning how to
Brother and
read this.
mother.
Yep, and then learning how to read this really crazy animated book, that was all about like Roman life and the Greek gods, and we had to translate the sentences. And I think we had to learn how to say the Hail Mary in Latin because I was at a Catholic school.
Oh
So,
wait. Oh
yep.
wait. Yeah. Yep. No, I'm getting post-traumatic stress now. Just from you, it sounded like you were taught in a more fun way because the first thing we had to learn was declining and conjugating. So I remember the first thing we had to learn was amo, amas, amat, amamos, amat. So I love, you love, he, she, it loves, we love, you love, they love. I'm like, it's still buried in my brain. This is taking the place of something that's useful. Is
Yep.
how to decline I love in Latin. But you found it useful, which is good.
It's been good. I think that it comes up a smidge more, I will say, in criminal law. I think that they sometimes have to reference Latin phrases a little bit more than we do. Sometimes ours are, unfortunately, some of the motion titles are just so blunt. Like it'll just be like motion to increase child support. And I'm like, let's make it a little bit more fancy and add some Latin flair to this. But it is good sometimes when I have to do a quick scan. I'm like, wow, this is fabulous. Sixth grade me would be so happy right now.
I was going to ask, do you ever casually drop in a Latin word or really long legal phrase just to impress people at the dinner table? Maybe in pageant interview?
Oh, I have not. And the reason, because I think someone would just stare at me like, what is she talking about? And I
Yeah.
fear my delivery wouldn't be as good as I would want it to, and I would just look really strange. So I have not done it yet. But sometimes I end up being able to incorporate some really intense figures of speech. Like today, I was utilizing the word dilatory tactics, and you get to make everything sound really dramatic. So I kind of do love that.
Say that again. What tactics?
Dilatory tactics, so they were delaying the process.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. As in they were taking their sweet time.
taking their sweet time. Yep.
Dilatory tactics.
Oh, yes.
This sounds like it'd be really useful, maybe not in pageant interview. You could use really, really long words to say something really simple.
This is true, but I will say, since now I have to, really dive into this legal writing and reading it out loud and understanding it and whatever. So that's been something that I have had to kind of be mindful of in interviews to make sure that I'm not going into paralegal mode where I'm like, well, this fine panel of judges, this is why I move you to select me. No, so I've actually had to really work on that as I've gotten a little bit deeper into my career at this point.
I joke, and it's only half a joke, Mykala, that because of all the pageant interviews that I've done, I feel like I've lost a few IQ points because I feel like I have to use shorter words and probably what I used to use because otherwise people won't understand me. So I enjoy a chance to, let's say, use words that have more than two syllables.
Yes,
Um,
I agree.
Now, I did my homework on you before we jumped on. You said you did your homework on me.
I did.
I happened across your TikTok, and I have a few. I don't worry. This is all
I was
above board.
excited.
There is a. I have it in front of me. That's why I'm looking down. There's a picture I need to ask you about, and you said, and you tell me when you understand what I'm talking about. You said, unfortunately, my best friend and I love the following. Do you remember this?
I do remember this.
Okay. Now I want you to just explain each one.
Okay.
First one, beating a dead horse.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Why?
So, we love to have a moment of reflection on the past. So, we will just talk for hours and hours about scenarios that we have discussed probably 15 million times before. It's in the past. The outcome hasn't changed, but we will still find a way to incorporate it into almost every conversation that we have with one another. So, I mean, I think one of our favorite experiences probably comes from talking about our time being on. Her name is Catherine, by the way. Talking about our time figure skating together because we were on the same team. And one of our probably fondest experiences was dealing with the administration at the school and what that was like and changing of the schedules. And that at 24 years old has no impact on our lives. But we'll still
No.
beat the horse. We're still and obviously, the flops romantically. We'll beat those horses too. But it's
Okay.
fun.
So just to clarify, we're not actually beating an
No,
actual horse. We're
not
talking figuratively, not literally. Good to know.
figuratively.
Okay.
Yes, we love horses.
Next one. What is it they call Exhibit B, Your Honor? Spending our non-existent money on Morgan Wallen. I feel that one doesn't need as much explanation, but go ahead.
Okay, so Catherine and I have gone to so many Morgan Wallen concerts that I think it's borderline embarrassing at this point. Of note, we flew all the way to Dallas, Texas for the Academy of Country Music Awards. We signed up
Oh
to be
wow.
seat, yep, we signed up to be seat fillers because we thought to ourselves, this is our chance to meet Morgan Wallen. He is going to
Yeah.
be in the audience. This will be so cool. We might get to sit with him. He goes on vocal rest. He doesn't come to the ACMAs. We at this point
Oh
have spent.
no.
Uh-huh. I did get to see Dolly Parton, so it definitely made up for it, and she was absolutely phenomenal in person. But like, come on! And then I think this summer we're going to Philadelphia to be able to see him. So we go once a year, which is a little embarrassing at this point.
Okay. Imagine that I'm him. I know I'm not, but imagine I'm him. What's the first thing you say to me?
Oh gosh. So when I met my favorite singer, Shawn Mendes, when I was in middle school, I go, wow, you smell so nice. What laundry detergent do you use? So I hope it would be a little bit more dignified than that at this point, but I think I'd be beat red.
Please tell me that's a joke. You didn't meet Shawn Mendes and tell him he smelled really good.
I did. And I have the pictures to prove it. I will have to send you those once we are off, but it was probably
Man,
top 10 most embarrassing
that's
moments I've ever
so
had.
that's like, please ground swallow me up. You know that Tom Brodeur wants to send the next Miss USA to all the red carpets. Please tell me you're going to handle yourself with a bit more dignity than going up to, like, he sent Audrey to the Elton John concert. You're not going to go to Elton John and say, "Wow, you smell so
Smells
nice."
so nice. Well, okay, in fairness, I was 12 at the time, and I was so excited the second that
It's
he was
still
even in.
embarrassing.
It was
It's
so
still
embarrassing.
embarrassing.
It was so embarrassing. So, no, my hope with that, I would hope to say, hello, how are you? A
Yeah, that's better.
pleasure. Or honestly, maybe I would say, hey, could I be your attorney at one point? Give me a few years, let me get through school, but maybe I could be an on staff lawyer for you. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I'm thinking at this point, stunned silence would be better than what you actually said.
It would be
That's
the wide eye,
that's
like, oh gosh.
yeah, that's oh, I got a restraining order from Shawn Mendes. It's like I
Yep.
got his autograph.
Yeah.
Okay. Exhibit C. Now you'll need to explain this one carefully as a pageant contestant. Scheming.
Okay, so it's less nefarious than it sounds. We love pranks. And I think that that's something that I have really tried to integrate even into my office space. So I have gotten my coworkers who are very dignified lawyers to engage in prank calls.
Okay.
And we have my favorite one is my coworker Jason, and he is Instagramless Jason. He called his brother, who feels very fondly about his home, and he really hates his homeowners association because they're very strict and they're very picky. So he comes on
Right.
the phone with this like really crazy voice. We're all like giggling in the corner, laughing at him. And he's like, "This is the HOA. We're gonna need you. Your trash is all over the yard. We're gonna need you to get all new garbage cans. Everyone is talking about your house and complaining." His poor brother, you just hear the, "I don't understand how this is warranted. This is so disgraceful. You guys are invading my privacy, this, that, whatever." And I asked him because he returned home to Texas. So he was with his brother. He said, "Did you tell him?" He goes, "No, I'm going to do it a couple more times." So prank
That's
calls is the scheming.
okay. So, but your pranks sound a bit more intellectual. So they're not like slapstick pranks because they come up on my feed all the time. Air horns and things like that. So we're not talking about that.
No, yeah, no, we did. The craziest prank I've ever played was I hired someone to pretend to be a potential new client for my boss. Because sometimes in family law, you get really crazy requests. So on April Fool's Day, I had someone dress up in a bathrobe and get on a call with her, making some really, really crazy requests, saying how he drives, I don't even remember what car. He was basically alluding to a toy car that he was trying to see if he could list his child for sale, and my coworker ended up being the one to intercept this call. He walked out of the room. He was like, "Guys, you're never gonna believe what this man was asking. I don't know what to do." His head's in his hands. I had the whole thing on video. It was wonderful.
You work at a law firm,
I
right? This is
do.
an actual. You do actual work.
We do. We do, but we get an hour for lunch. So if you ever have a
Right.
strange number calling you from 1 to 2 p.m., it could be me. It could be me.
I was going to say I saw a really good one on TikTok in terms of pranks. This is more practical than yours, but there were two brothers living together, and one brother was very sassy, very particular, very
Yeah.
germophobic, and so this other brother gets a toilet brush, which is not dirty, by the way. He gets a new
Oh
toilet brush,
no.
and he leaves it in this sassy brother's dishwasher, and then just leaves it there. And then the next screen you see, it's a voicemail, like a voice message, a voice note from this sassy brother using every curse word under "What's wrong with you? I hope you get this. I hope you get that." It was just so funny. I'm not saying do that, by the
Oh,
way. I'm
I
not
like
endorsing it.
that. I like that. There, but I will say there's pranks with limits, right? So like if you're afraid of something, I wouldn't buy a pet snake and like send it around your. It's all things
Nope.
that we can reflect back on and giggle about always.
No, I don't agree with that. I'm the worst person to tell what you're afraid of because then I exactly know what to do. So if you tell me you're
Yeah.
afraid of a spider, I'm getting the spider
Oh God.
straight away. Uh, Next one, using Chat GPT to solve problems. Which problems are we solving?
So sometimes, and I will admit this, if I feel that a conflict is arising, I will put my own response to a text through ChatGPT, and I will be like, "Read my tone. Do I sound a little too upset? How can I soften this a little bit?" So we use tone checkers on ChatGPT before sending any crazy text messages out.
Okay, that's fair. Fast food.
We love fast food. Yes. We are frequenters of Taco Bell. Very much
Okay.
frequenters of Taco Bell, and McDonald's, I would say, is a close second.
Which fast food restaurant has the best fries?
Oh, this is a really tough debate. I do have to say Chick-fil-A. I think
Okay.
the waffle fry. I want to say McDonald's, but I think conventionally Chick-fil-A just has a better quality one that if I put it on a plate at like a Capital Grille fancy steakhouse, you wouldn't really know it was fast food.
Okay. All right. We don't
Yeah,
have that in Australia, so I do like McDonald's, but I'll have to try the Chick-fil-A
Chick-fil-A.
fries
When you come,
when I'm over,
yes.
yeah, when I'm over America side. All right, final ones, and again, you'll need to tread carefully on this one. Internet surveillance. Hey, you
So
put this on your TikTok. I'm not a word of a lie. Okay, here's a shot. Internet surveillance.
she's gonna have the biggest. I don't know if she's watching, but if she sees this, she's gonna be like, "Oh my God." I will say we are like our own FBI. So if you're like, oh, there's this random person, I can't think of their name, in probably 10 seconds or less, we can find who they are, where they live, what they're up to, and we just do our homework.
Okay, so if I'm Morgan Wallen or Shawn Mendes, I'm now running away and erasing my entire internet footprint so you don't tell me how good I smell.
Fair enough on that one. I will say we respect the privacy of celebrities, but there's nothing we can't solve with a laptop in hand, I will say.
Yeah, it is getting to that point, especially now with ChatGPT. You can find and do anything that your imagination's a limit. We've got the pageant coming up in a couple of months. What are your plans if I happen to see you at the 75th anniversary? What are the emotions like at this stage?
Oh my gosh. Just being there would be so surreal. I mean, when I was little, watching Miss USA and then Miss Universe, that was probably the 2 nights that my mom let me stay up past my bedtime, and it was like a whole event in my house to be able to do it, and just seeing these women who felt so unreal to me at the time, and just hearing how authentic they were and what they were doing, it was so mind-boggling. So to be able to join that legacy and to be there with them would be so surreal, and I think everyone gets excited for the competition and what that sort of entails, but I think the thing I would be most excited for would be getting off the stage and seeing my family, seeing coaches, and seeing the people that have supported me, because it's been 10 years. That's a long time. And obviously, when you have the successes, when you have the failures, you feel them yourself, but these
Yeah.
are the people that are helping you manage them. So I think to get that hug right off the stage, even for Miss Maine this year, I'm so excited for that. And to have people flying out, which is crazy, to come and support
Wow.
me for it is insane. So I'm so excited.
Okay, so when are you competing, and are tickets available, or people want to come out and support all that jazz?
Yes, so I am competing on June 20th and 21st. The Clemente organization is combining Maine and Massachusetts this year.
Right.
So you can buy tickets online. They have a general admission seating, which I think is maybe $95, and then premier seating for, I want to say 165.
Mhm.
Maine and Mass, historically, when they've been together, sell out very, very fast. So if people
Okay.
want to be able to come, I would say get the tickets early. It's being hosted in Danvers, Massachusetts at a hotel. It's the Doubletree. So it's going to be
Right.
really fun. And you get to see two state pageants, which is wonderful.
Wow. Did I see on your story a photo with you and Hannah Kelsey?
Yes, you did. Her and
Hmm.
I are really great friends. So she'll be there too. So we're getting to compete alongside each other. So I'm so excited about that.
Okay. I ask because I'll be interviewing her, I think, next week, and I saw Hannah seems to be really good at posting up photos that make her look really tall. I know she is tall, but
Oh,
you looked rather short next to her, is all I'm going to say.
so, and ironically, I'm 5'6". The heels that I was wearing at the time, because we had to bring our walking heels, probably put me up around 6 feet tall, I would say. I felt like the elf on the shelf. I was sitting there like, hello,
What was
she's
she
so tall.
wearing then?
She had heels on. She had heels on, but I mean, she is so gorgeous in person. When you see her coming, she's such a tall, like she just commands a room. She's so
Yeah.
tall. It's crazy. All my friends are taller than me, I feel like too. I'm like, if I could have just had 1 or 2 more inches, I would have been a lot happier.
Have you met Crystal Foot? Because that's what I messaged Hannah. I said, you look really tall. And then I said, have you met Crystal Foot? And she was at Miami Swim Week. And she said she had met Crystal. Crystal is the only person in pageant land when I've met them, because I'm 6'1", and I've had to go
Okay.
like this
You're like,
because
wow.
she's 6'4", I think, in flats.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I've never met her in person,
Yeah.
but that's impressive. That's really impressive.
You'd have to be jumping to shake hands with her or to
Yeah,
give her a hug because she's almost a foot taller than you.
I know. I mean, listen, she is so blessed because for me to get even close to that height, I have to wear these clunky things that just give me the worst blisters in the world. So, all the power to her.
Okay. All right. Well, we've been on for a minute. I feel like I've been interrogating you about your TikTok. You're gonna be so paranoid now about what you post on TikTok. We'll move towards a close with the final 10. But before we do that, anyone that you want to give a shout out to?
Oh, wow. Well, definitely my parents. My dad is Instagramless. My mom might be watching this. I heard her just creep into her office right about now. But I wanted to say to her that I appreciate every single time that she has shown up to either wipe the tears away or be there to cheer me on. She always has my little stuffed animal named Lovey in the crowd. So if you see anything on a pageant live stream with a little bear head, that's typically for me. So I think Lovey will be making an appearance this year at Miss Maine. And then my coaches mean so much to me, and I am so lucky that I have really found my people and the people who cheer me on. I've worked with my coach, Kate Parent of KP Consulting, since I was about 14 years old, which is crazy.
Wow.
So we go really far back. And she is the person who will invite me over to have a slice of pizza when I'm feeling really sad if something's not going my way. And I value that more than I could know. She has the best team of people. She has a woman named Gina Carlotto who works with her, Julia Scaparrotti, and these are people I've worked with for a while and they've poured so much into me. You know, Miss Morgan, and Morgan is wonderful. She's pushed me in so many ways, and Jimmy Langhoff and Grace Roddy. They've been so fabulous. So I think having people that are checking in and just checking on me as a person, not just as a competitor, is so
Yeah.
amazing. And I really do appreciate them. And
Yeah.
Raven Ramsey too. She's great. So she's wonderful.
Yes, I do know Morgan. I probably know Morgan too well. But
You,
that's a
she's the best. Everyone knows Morgan, and she deserves to be known. She is a wonderful human being.
I sometimes find myself on the podcast and Morgan's there, and I'm just like, I don't know what Morgan's going to say, but please don't curse. Please don't. After I interviewed Tom Brodeur, I had to tell him something that Morgan had said before we had gone live, and he completely lost it,
Oh
like in
yeah,
a good way. Like he was laughing. It was because Morgan says she says the most unhinged things on live, and then she keeps saying, "Oh, I want to do I should start a podcast. I should start a podcast." And I say, "Yeah, go for it." I said, "No, I'm not going to do that because I get cancelled." Like, yeah, probably give you
yeah.
about 5 minutes before you say something that you can never take back. So
It's part of the charm, though. It's part of the charm.
you try controlling the woman when you're trying to host a podcast. I will tell you, it's a different kind of charm.
This is, that's fair, but I don't know. She does. She'll be like, "Ooh, that might have been me." And I'm like, "Ugh, it's fine." I'm like, "This is a safe space. You can say whatever you want to say."
Let's go through these final 10. Number one, what is your favorite word?
Fabulous.
What is your least favorite word?
Gag.
Is there anything that makes you?
Yes, I am so smell sensitive. So smell sensitive. Like I would say I can't even, go and clean up after my dog. Like that's how horrible it is. Smells and I do not get along very well, but I don't like that people are like, "Oh wow, I was gagged when they came out in evening gown. Their performance had me gagged." I'm like, "Oh, that makes me think you're gonna throw up. Don't say that."
Just quick side tangent. I YouTube recommends some weird things, and one time it recommended me this person who they were eating a strange food, and it's called it's a long shellfish, and it has this giant trunk, right? I
Oh,
don't know, I can't remember what it's called, a geoduck or gooey duck or something. It's a shellfish,
oh,
and these two guys, they're from Florida. It's called Porchcast, as in it's a podcast, but on their porch. So it's a Porchcast. And
interesting.
one of the guys that eats it has a really bad gag reflex. So the entire reason that this thing exists, they'll eat the most horrid things, but it's hilarious. I can't stop watching. And sometimes I laugh so hard that I feel like I'm going to die
Yep.
because you will smell. It's not even the taste. He says texture, but also the smell. And he will smell something and he won't be able to stop gagging. And it's the
Oh yeah.
funniest thing I've ever seen. I'm not saying that it's funny with you, but that's what you made me think of right then.
Oh yeah, I mean, I will say actually I have the top pinnacle of something that makes me gag. I have a friend who loves having tuna casserole and ugh,
Oh, well, yeah.
he dumps ketchup into the tuna casserole, and I love ketchup. Like I put ketchup on my eggs, ketchup on bacon, so I'm a big proponent of ketchup. And he like swishes it in the baking dish, and every time I hear the sound, I have to leave the room. It's horrifying.
That wet slushing sound.
It's the sound, it's the smell, it's the fact that it's tuna casserole. I just Mm-mm. It's terrible. I'm always mad when it comes out
Right.
bad.
I had a former girlfriend who wanted to get into cooking, and I had gotten a slow cooker, and she decided for some reason, bless her, that the first thing she was going to cook in the slow cooker was a tuna casserole. And you don't need to slow cook a tuna, like
No.
tuna's cooked, canned tuna's already cooked.
Yeah.
Came back to the apartment, cat food. Just the
Oh,
smell of cat food. It was the most horrid thing you've. It's like a fish died in your apartment about 5 years ago. It was terrible.
oh,
Anyway, some people just shouldn't be allowed to cook.
I agree.
Um, moving on seamlessly. Question number three. In life, what gets you excited? What turns you on?
Spin class. The second that the lights go
Okay.
out and the strobe lights go on, I feel like I'm on top of the world.
What turns you off?
Bad manners, especially when people are ordering and they don't say please. I really don't like that.
What sound or noise do you love?
Ocean waves. It's very relaxing.
Got a random question. Quick answer. When is Miss Maine USA? You just said June 20th to
Yes.
21st?
Yep. Saturday and Sunday of Father's Day weekend.
Great. What sound or noise do you hate?
When my dog whines when I have food, it's very aggravating.
Well, I would say the way to stop that is to give your dog your food.
He can't eat sushi though. Like I'm sitting there eating sushi. He's like, "Mm,"
Are
I'm
you
like,
sure? Are you
when it's
sure?
covered in eel sauce and all that other stuff, I'm like, this might not be for you.
Can you get good sushi where you're around?
Yes, absolutely, because we're all by the ocean, so it's
Yeah.
very, very fresh. I mean, Maine has insanely good sushi. There's a place called Ikebon, and it's the cheapest sushi I've ever had in
Wow.
my life, but it melts in your mouth. It is fabulous.
I was going to
Fabulous.
say the Maine. When you say Maine, the only thing I can think of is the sea and obviously Maine lobsters. So
Unreal. Absolutely unreal.
yeah. Okay. Now I'm hungry. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
Mind reading. That way I can always be a few steps ahead and proactively approach people. So if I know someone's already having a bad day, that'll change the way in which I approach them.
I would say that would be a very useful skill in a courtroom to be able to
Oh,
read minds.
I'll
Yeah.
be like,
Okay.
the judge isn't gonna do that. And then they're like, oh, wow, okay, better listen.
What job other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Who? I would open my own coffee shop. I just really enjoy kind of the conversations that you overhear when you're walking into a coffee shop. I would have nonstop country music playing and would have blueberry bagels. It would be pretty good.
I thought that was going to be so that you can have endless cold foam.
That too, and we would have seasonal ones. I would have to really reflect though what I would do for summer because I feel like that's kind of tricky with the coffee combinations.
What job would you definitely not like to attempt?
I couldn't be a vet. I could not be a vet. I have really, really bad pet allergies, and my dog's hypoallergenic. So if I had to be around cats all day, that would be awful. But if I had to put down an animal, I
Oh yeah.
couldn't do it. I would be devastated.
What dog is hypoallergenic? Because I know with cats, I think it's Berman cats that are hypoallergenic. What breed do you have?
I have a Morkie, so he's a Maltese and a
Okay.
Yorkshire Terrier.
Okay. All
So it's
right.
like technically
Uh,
human hair or something like that.
oh, okay. Miss Black Henderson over on Instagram has said, "Wow, she's beautiful."
Oh my
There you go.
gosh, tell her thank you. Well, thank you. She can hear me.
Thank you. Okay. Final question: if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Nikki was waiting for you. She was waiting for you and she saw you the whole time. And I would be like, "Wow, she was probably laughing." But that would make it all really worthwhile.
Perfect. All right, Mykala, I'm so glad we managed to get this in. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. I'm so happy that you're doing this and you really interview people in such a graceful way. Like you have such a great demeanor and it's really fun to watch as a spectator and now I appreciate it even more after having come on. So thank you for, giving us the space to be able to chat.
I will say you made it very easy by having that TikTok post that did all the work for me.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. I'm gonna have to really take a deep dive and I'll be texting Catherine after like you'll never believe what just happened.
If I happen to meet you at Miss USA, please just don't say the smell nice thing. That is so creepy.
You know
Can you
what?
imagine if a guy walked up to a girl and said that? You'd never hear the end of it.
Well, you know what? He told me he uses Tide, and you know what we use at my house now?
Tide.
Tide.
Right. Okay. So brand ambassadorship.
For
Okay.
Tide.
Sorted out. It's still a weird story. But anyway, I'm going to keep you on the line for just a sec whilst I hang out with the
Gotcha.
audience. But thanks everyone for watching, and we'll speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you're a competitive pageant girl and you're after some high performance pageant coaching, make sure to come and check us out at thepageantproject.com, where you can start your journey for free. In the meantime, follow us on all our socials at The Pageant Project. Speak to you next time.